Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so the Timberwolves got the victory at home to tie the series up 119-118 against the Memphis Grizzlies. And if you watch that game, then you understand that you didn't tune in to watch basketball. No. You tuned in to watch referees review plays, and there was basketball being played in between those moments. I think there was probably a total of what may my numbers correct, probably a total of like 55 to 60 fouls called in this game. Um, so the thing about this game was this: it was really entertaining to watch the players do what it was that they did, but the NBA ruined this entire process by having it so that you have to stop the play for reviews every 5 minutes, and every review requires that they stand there for a good 5 minutes. And it's like, okay, but then in the reviewing, depending on what it is they're reviewing, they'll have to ignore certain things because you can't review certain fouls. But we do want to look at the footage of that foul so we can see if the ball should go out of bounds. So it's just, it doesn't make sense. The whole process is horrible for the viewers to watch, and we hate it. So change it, please. So that's the first thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say is congratulations to the Timberwolves for winning a home playoff game. Those don't come around very often for you guys, and I say that with a good deal of respect. You know what I mean? That's not sarcasm when I say that. You guys have earned your place in this spot, and I don't think your team gave you the best effort in Game 3. So for you guys to come back and have this win in Game 4, it's what the playoffs are about. You want to be able to at least enjoy the playoffs, whether you get out of the first round or not. And you guys got 2 wins thus far. That's pretty dang good. Also, I of course want to acknowledge that I called out Karl Anthony Towns in my previous video for only attempting 4 shots in the previous game, and I said if he was serious about making us believe that he wasn't that person, he would put up his best stat line. Well, he put up his best stat line he did in the playoffs, and that is exactly what he needed to do. He was just fantastic. I think he had 31 points, something like that, 14 rebounds. Forgive me if my numbers are off; they're not sticking in my head tonight. But he was really, really effective out there, making plays for himself, hitting free throws, which was very important. Even though he had some bonehead plays, particularly one where he tried to save the ball in a situation where the other team had knocked it out, and he saved it while he was stepping out of bounds himself. So just a very, very bad decision, bonehead play. Lucky it didn't cost him. I also want to shout out Jordan McLaughlin, a player that I had said in the previous video they should call his number because I think he can succeed in these situations. They have players on the back of that bench in Minnesota that they haven't used that I believe in, and I thought that he would be able to give them a big boost if they called his number, and he exceeded my expectations by many miles. Just came in and just gave them a complete spark, hitting a bunch of threes. I'm not sure exactly how many points he came up with, but probably around 16 points. He was really, really effective, and just gave them a huge scoring punch in a time when they needed it. Anthony Edwards was pretty good tonight. He had, I think it was about 25 points, something of that nature. There's some things to be said about his cohesiveness tonight down the stretch of the basketball game. It seemed like there was a tug of war to me between Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, and it seemed like Karl Towns kind of got involved in that too down the stretch of the game. It's a situation where you got a young team, and even though they won the game tonight, there was so much to talk about in regards to both teams that I kind of just want to point out some negative stuff about the winners. So bear with me, but that it's just a little discourse that I saw down the stretch of that game that I think they could learn from as a team. It's not about who gets it done. It's just that the person who gets it done needs to be wearing your uniform. It doesn't matter who it is. And I think down the stretch of that game, D'Angelo Russell was trying to, vie for the basketball. Anthony Edwards was trying to vie for the basketball, and they just seemed to not want to pass to one another down the stretch of the game. A lot of I'm looking each other off. I'm gonna do it. No, I don't. I got it. That kind of stuff. And it's just like, look, if you're trying to win, That is not the way to do it. That's the way you play into the hands of the opponent. And you saw in the process of that situation, they went from having a 5-point lead to a 1-point lead because of those two possessions where they couldn't figure out which one of them was going to trust the other. And like I said, Carl Towns got involved in that because when they were having that little discourse, he jumped in there, got the ball, and turned around and did a little jumper at Brick. It's like, come on, man. Where's the leadership? Either are going to play together or you're going to lose together. You know what I mean? But if you go do it as individuals, you're going to lose together for sure. And that's what I saw. Just a bunch of individuals down there. Very disappointing. We talked a whole lot about the Minnesota Timberwolves coach not calling a timeout in the previous game when things were going bad. I felt that he should have done something to reel those two young men in and help them understand what is required of them to win this basketball game, and how that little sequence right there very well would cost them the game most of the time. Most nights, you're going to lose that. And then it takes me to Memphis. Memphis played pretty well. You got to give Desmond Bane all the credit in the world. 34 points. Big points. Went hard. I think the problem with Memphis tonight was foul trouble. When you foul a team 33 times, or was it 36? Like I said, numbers not with me this evening. But when you foul a team over 30 times in a playoff game on their 4, you're going to lose. Simple as that. They had their opportunities to win, but believe you me, you're not going to win that game very often. Not very often at all. And so they needed so much production out of so many people. John Morant was not able to stay out of foul trouble himself, even though he was able to do big things in the assist category. He was helping his team. Ultimately, he needed to score more tonight, and it just wasn't falling there for him. Zaire Williams got hit in the eye, so he was kind of removed from this game. I think that hurt a little bit, even though he ended up coming back. It just kind of took him out of their stride a little bit. At the end of the day, it really just came down to some big shots being hit. You saw haymakers being laid by both teams down the stretch. And Tyus Jones had a shot that I think could have sealed it. And, there was a nice little play where John Morant had found himself in that mid-air having the last second to make a pass. And he happened to find Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones had space to either shoot the 3 or pass it to the further corner to Dylan Brooks. And I think either way he would have been fine. If he would have made that pass to Dylan Brooks, I'm pretty sure he could have got that 3 off himself. But he decided to take it himself. He had the space to make the 3 just fine, so it was a good decision. It just didn't fall. And I was, what are you going to do? You create good shots for yourself. You're wide open. The defense doesn't catch it. Either you're going to make the shot or not. Tyus had been hitting shots all night. He's had a good series. He'd been hitting shots in his building. Obviously, this is his old team. So I didn't have a problem with him taking that shot. It was a good shot. It just didn't fall. Now, in the very next play, you saw Dylan Brooks hit the corner tray from that same spot he was in, and you kind of wish that he had that shot. Maybe he would have hit that one too, that kind of stuff. But all in all, at the end of the day, you just want quality possessions, and that was definitely a quality possession. Ain't no question about it. Brandon Clark continues to impress. His value is really rising in these playoffs. The way that Memphis has developed him over the past 4 years has been remarkable. And I just think that he is a testament to how great of an organization they've been. Not to take away the credit from him working hard on himself, but they've done a fantastic job with making sure that he stayed in positions to stay comfortable. And even when his minutes were not necessarily available to him, they still kept him in rotation for key moments and to stay ready. And he kept himself ready. So to see where he's at in his development at this point, being an assistant player to a championship caliber team, I think the upside is still very, very high. So I like his skill set already as a big forward type of player with guard handles and guard ability. And I think he's gonna step out and to be even better than we thought. Because he's now found defensive intangibles on top of that. He was really, really active tonight defensively, fantastic on the glass, and just doing good things for his team as he has been all playoffs. So if that ain't somebody that deserves a standing ovation, then I don't know who does, because he has really been an unsung hero for the Memphis Grizzlies, unfortunately for themselves, in a losing effort tonight. So, You know, and you want to continue to mention players that are playing well. Obviously, you want to mention Patrick Beverly, somebody who I said needed to continue to hit the three and continue to motivate the young players to kind of reel it in and to understand the moment and to follow him in terms of their energy. I thought he did a pretty solid job of that tonight. Um, he kept his composure, and I felt like he helped his team on both sides as usual. And that three ball really fell, so that was definitely important. Um, Vanderbilt continuing to hit the glass, continue to do just about everything he needed to do, being the great opposite end to the Brandon Clarkson, the Zaire Williams, and all of those fantastic forwards that they have over there. He has been the answer for that. He has been the guy they've had to deal with. And I tell you, Vanderbilt in this particular game was just as valuable as he always is for this team. He's been this guy all year long, rebounding the ball and just making sure that his team has energy at all times. So yeah, it was just a lot of good things that you saw out there. I mean, overall, you just wish that you could have saw more fluidity of basketball play without so much stoppage. I know the NBA wants to get it right, especially with people, betting on games more so now than ever before. It's so important that you get things right, but not to the detriment of the product itself. And most importantly, I don't think starting and stoppage is really good for athletes. It's not. Too much standing around, then quick movements and stuff like that. You're asking for trouble, NBA. Y'all have got to get that together. So yeah, what else? There was something very important also I want to mention. So much about this game really stood out throughout the game. Someone ran on the court. A lady just jumped out, in the middle of a play that was kind of broken to begin with. She decided she was just going to try to jump in the melee. I don't know what her idea was, but security was on it in a way that you rarely see. You talk about anticipating somebody doing something. That man knew she was going to do that. I don't know if they had intel on her, they were watching her, but he was anticipating her jumping out there for whatever that's worth. That's what I gathered. I watched that a couple times, and it was almost like he was waiting for her to do exactly what she did so he could catch her at that exact moment. They could drag her off. It was quite the spectacle. But yeah, you'll see that all over SportsCenter, I'm sure. So this was a nail biter, man. Heart attack central. I tell you, if you were a Minnesota Memphis fan, you did not have a good time watching this game. If you're Memphis, you hated it in the end. But for Minnesota, I'm sure it was a nail biter for y'all, and you're happy to win it. The series is tied, and I feel really good about Minnesota's ability to score against this team. I think Memphis has got to figure some things out. They did not make the Minnesota Timberwolves pay tonight, and I think they're going to pay for that. That's the bottom line. That's what I took from this game. Minnesota's a team who made a lot of mistakes in the last game, and they had to live with their mistakes because they were the loser of that game. Memphis made a lot of mistakes in that game. I don't know that they actually set with those mistakes in the way that they needed to because they won it. Hopefully, with them losing this game, they will look at both games and understand that they have not played as well as they need to win this series as of yet, and that is why they're tied. There's nothing else to say about that in regards to effort or anything. No. Memphis needs to reel it in and understand that focus is what is the next level of evolution for them. Because what I saw was a lot of mental mistakes on their side, a lot of missed opportunities, missed free throws, too much fouling, guys just not playing with the type of poise that you would expect from a team that talks as much as they do. Let's just keep it all the way honest. We like their confidence because they've been able to back it up in the regular season. But in these playoffs against a team that they match up very well against, they are not coming up big. They don't look like no championship caliber team. They look like a young team just like the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that is not who they've been all year long. They've been one of the best teams in all of basketball on both sides of the floor. They should not be having no problems with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They shouldn't. They are a better team than the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I'm telling you, that's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is two teams that are very evenly matched. And the Minnesota team seems to have a bit more energy and urgency, even though they too have their issues and things they need to work through. At the end of the day, both coaches have a lot to take from this particular matchup. There's plenty of good and bad on both sides. And it's a series of 3 now, with the Memphis Grizzlies still having home court advantage, having both teams split. So now, these Game 5, these pivotal Game 5s are usually when you start looking around, figuring out who's the healthier team. You start looking around, seeing who has Game 5 at home, which would be Memphis in this case. And you start looking around and you try to figure out who is really going to put their foot and stamp on this series. This is the most important game of the series for a lot of reasons, because it gives you an understanding of who's going to have to fight with their back against the wall going forward. You know, obviously Game 7 would be the end-all be-all, but in terms of a course of a real series, when you want to know, when you separate who's from who, this is when it happens. Minnesota really did a good job of just taking a good punch from Desmond Bane, taking a really good punch from Dylan Brooks, and letting it roll off their backs and still getting a victory. They closed out. They did enough to win the basketball game. You know, and then they did it on the back of the big fella Karl Towns. I'm waiting to see which one of these teams can put it all together. Can they all have a good game at the same time? All of the most main pieces. Can they all have it all at the same time? Because that's what's missing. You know, tonight, Anthony Edwards was pretty good. Karl Towns was excellent. D'Lo wasn't very good. You know, on the Memphis side of things, of course, as we said, Bane and Brooks had it going, but Ja couldn't stay on the floor, couldn't score. So it's like whichever one of these teams in Game 5 can have the most consistency across the board, in my opinion, will win that particular game. You're going to have to find the team within this situation that's going to play together, it's going to get the most out of their others, and whose coach is going to make better decisions. I have not seen the greatest decision making from both coaches in this series. You know, I would say Taylor Jenkins is winning it, but you know, it's been a struggle for both teams, and I get that these are young squads, but at some point in time you got to reel it in. The mistakes that we're seeing on both sides, the fouling on the Memphis side, and just the lack of awareness and the lack of continuity down the stretch of the basketball game on the Minnesota side. It starts with the coach and just making smart decisions with his timeouts and smart decisions with his rotations, using more of his squad, for which he did with McLaughlin tonight. And as you can see, that was a recipe for success. I'm waiting for him to call in the number of Josh Okogie. I think he's missing a massive opportunity by not playing that particular young player. He specializes in defense and energy, and he can occasionally hit a shot. That's more than enough to force a turnover against a Memphis team, and that's more than enough to give them a headache when you couple that with what you already have on the floor with Vanderbilt and McDaniels, who also didn't really play his best game tonight, to be honest with you, but he was still very active on all over the place as well. So, you know, you put McDaniels out there with Okogie, with Vanderbilt, and you have three players that specialize in forcing turnovers and getting out in the fast break because of it. Spacing a little funny with Okogie if his three isn't falling, but he is not somebody who should not be playing. No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, I could argue you take him off of Minnesota and you put him in certain other situations around the playoffs, and that could change the series. I kid you not. That's the type of energy that young player brings. So you're missing a massive opportunity there, in my opinion. But yeah, all in all, Karl Towns gets the game ball tonight, you know, and I hope that Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell can learn and grow up tonight. You made a huge mistake in a playoff game, all three of y'all. Karl Towns too, with that decision that he made to try to save that ball on the inbounds there, and stepping out of bounds. All of y'all made really, really, really loser mistakes in the last 5 minutes of this basketball game. Just stuff that's going to 9 out of 10 times get you beat. And you got away with it tonight, but BDF44 is the type of dude that's going to see that stuff and will acknowledge it. So that's what it is. It's nobody's team, man, to be honest with you. The Timberwolves need to understand this. Karl, with all due respect, if Anthony Edwards on your team, that ain't your team. Anthony Edwards, with all due respect, you're not there yet, bro. You're not there yet. You are a leading guy. You will be that guy, but you're in no position to be looking off nobody, saying, I want the ball over nobody. And D'Angelo Russell, you were shooting entirely too poorly tonight to just demand that somebody else give you the ball. You weren't efficient tonight. You made some good plays after that situation, but you took the ball, you didn't want to give it to Anthony, and then you bricked it. I'm sorry, fam, but that's the type of immaturity that got you traded from the Lakers. That's exactly what Magic Johnson was talking about. That's not leadership. And you've been in this league too damn long to do that. I can expect that from a rookie or a second-year player like Edwards, but you've made an all-star team. You've been on several teams in this league. Don't do that. Don't do that. There are ways for you to be effective, and there's ways for you to get the ball than to have body language like that with your own teammate down a stretch of a freaking playoff game at home. Unacceptable, especially from somebody like yourself. So that's what I got to say about that, man. The Minnesota Timberwolves are growing up before our very eyes, and they're making some key mistakes that if they learn from, it could turn them into champions one day. But it's going to be on them to learn from those mistakes. I'm a believer in both of these teams. This is why this is my favorite matchup. At this point, I think it's going to go 7. My initial pick was Memphis in 6, so I'll stick with that on the official basis. But there's no reason why this game shouldn't continue to go for the distance, because these two teams haven't stepped out in front of each other. Neither one of them. And I haven't seen anything that makes me feel like that's going to change in Game 5. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. They're going to feed off the energy of their crowd. And both teams are capable of winning on the road. So what you have here is an even series. And it's great, man. It's great. I'm glad that this series is gonna continue, because it looks like some of the series I don't care for are gonna continue. So we'll follow them all. But that's what I gotta say, man. I'm happy that Karl Towns bounced back and did what he was supposed to do. You know, he's too great of a player to only attempt 4 shots. He's too great of a player to let somebody walk into his arena and beat him in the way that Memphis was able to, having massive leads on them and still losing the game. Unacceptable. You don't want that attached to your name. It's very important that he bounce back and, dare I say, win this series. You know, Karl Towns should expect to win this series. I don't know if everyone else on that Minnesota team should feel that way about themselves at this stage in their careers, but he should not leave himself no excuses to lose to a Memphis team that may or may not be better than him. Nah. Why? Because he's supposed to feel like he's the best player on the floor. Whether you agree with that, you know, if you want to say it's not him, maybe it's Ja, but he's supposed to think it's him. And so the way he's been playing up until tonight, he didn't have that. But we saw it tonight, so that needs to continue. So, yeah, I'm happy about that. And very happy about that game. It was very fun to watch. If you have tape delay and can fast forward all of the stoppage of play, which probably total about an hour, because it was literally that bad. So, yeah, please, NBA, seriously, do something about that. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.